Hello and welcome to this episode of Security Journal UK Leaders in Security podcast series. I'm your host, Eve Goode, and I'm the digital content editor of Security Journal UK. In this episode, I'm joined by Resideo's Laurent Legris, the Senior Director of Security Product Management, and Maxime Chila, the European Security Commercial Director. Thank you both for joining me today. How are you?
Good. We are good. Thank you, Eve, to host us for this podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Eve.
Well, it's great to have you here. So before we get into our discussion on the European security market, can you tell our readers a little bit about yourself and your role at Resideo? Laurent, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I'm working for Resideo since 24 years now. I did my career in engineering for, let's say, up to 2020. So going through firmware, electronic, product development, system architecture, up to leading the engineering team for the security business into Honeywell at that time. And then after the spin-off, I moved to the product management, and this is 5 years now. And I'm in charge of all the wireless intrusion portfolio in Resideo.
And Maxime, what about you?
So I am working in the security industry. So started with Honeywell in, I would say, 2010. So I've been working in different division in Honeywell. I would say from the support, sales support, technical expert and sales for a while. And I've been working with different type of customers in the security. I would say big installers, big company operating, I would say pan-European and also sometimes I would say across the ocean. And also with the general market, what we call general market in distribution channel. And I have a formal background also of firefighter volunteer that brings for me, I would say, a different vision of the security market where we are protecting what matters the most, as we say in Resideo.
Well, thank you both for that introduction that you gave. So we're going to jump straight in now. So firstly, could you tell me a bit about your experience within the European security market?
So on the security market, the experience we have is from our legacy on the product side. So we have been selling product for more than 25 years now. They were using brand like Videofight, Domonial on the market. So we have been on that market in several countries in Europe for a while. France, UK, Spain being those famous one, but also Benelux, Italy, and this kind of product. We have solutions on the product side, and we did follow some trends over years. So in the security industry, and the experience has been recently even a big change, I would say. Post-COVID, we see some of the market evolve. People were a bit more, I would say, concerned about their security, and we saw also the pro expectation moving more and more to covering security, but also safety. That was the case, but the trend is even higher now. So that's in short the experience in the security market. So Maxime, if you want to add something.
No, I think that's a good summary. And what I can just add is we are in this market for a while. We are really close to the installers and the distributors, who are the key stakeholders for us, even if we are taking care of the consumer at the end of the chain, clearly. But we are really concerned about, I would say, the professional part of the security in this market. That's really where we are focusing for a while.
So, as you've been in the European market for some time, can you tell me a little bit about what the SMB and residential security market looks like across Europe?
Yeah, we'll start. So just that's a good bridge with what I just answered before is if you look at the security market in Europe, meaning connectivity is really the trend. So we have technology evolutions from analogic to digital with Ethernet. we had cellular backup and moving to 2G, 3G, and now 4G, especially for the UK market, with the dual pass being very important in UK, for instance. And we have this new expectation from installers. I think one of the study we did in 2022, a survey. In UK, 74% of the installers shared with us that when they are going to buy an intrusion system, they expect this system doing more than just intrusion. So that's one of the trends I think I want to highlight.
Yeah, and I think what we can add, and it's linked to the previous question, it's we can see on the market more and more DIY solution and DIY installation products sold on the market, and we think that the consumer needs to be, I would say, alerted, or at least to be aware about what's happening on the market and the importance of having a pro and a product installed by a pro. That's really a big trend that we are pushing, and we can see.
So I know you've already mentioned different areas of Europe already. Could you just explain if you've noticed any major differences between regions like the UK and places in like France and Germany?
Yeah, I think we can discuss a bit more about similarities than difference in Europe, because we are always discussing this way, but I see it a bit differently. But clearly, for sure, there is a big trend and a huge need in the home safety as a key concern, meaning that we have to have, I would say, a bit more than just the security, and really bringing the safety in the value chain.
Yeah, and I will say if we try to translate that with, so that's the need, but if we translate that with product, for instance, we see that for sure, like the bell box in UK, is definitively famous. So if you're talking about intrusion in UK, you're talking about bell box, the siren you can put in front of the home. That's for sure something historically specific to UK. But as Maxime said, there is more and more common points. We see this trend now in France because of the self-monitoring system is growing. So it's the bell box is a deterrent, so that's something which is making a big noise outside of your home. So you have a chance to have the burglar going away. So even if you take those country historically, you may have some trend coming from one country, but the other country now start to copy whatever is working well. So so we see much more common points than difference now between countries in West Europe.
Moving back to the UK, do you think that there's anything that the UK can learn from other European countries when it comes down to innovation and stuff like that, keeping on top of trends?
From my perspective, I'm discussing on the sales part of the organization. I think we are still in a learning curve for the UK market. To be fair, so we are pushing, and it's probably a bit early to say that we can bring new services or new stuff in Europe from now. We have an example because we have launched in France recently a new service where we have a kind of model pay per day connected to a monitoring station, and there is a big demand about it. And we are thinking and checking if that's the kind of things that could be interesting for the British market in UK, for example.
Okay, so how does the UK market sort of compare to the United States market?
I think those markets are closer than what we can think. Meaning, especially if you look at the American market and UK market, for instance, going back to the product again, one of the famous products used in those countries is a video doorbell, So meaning Americans, they like having a video doorbell in front of their home, and I think in UK it's pretty famous as well. Then you may have some difference, like in America, the market for the alarm signaling, so the alarm going to the ring stations when something is happening on site, is still going through the cloud for most of the market. In US, like in Europe, we like to send the signal direct to the CMS, but we see that trend coming as well about going through the cloud or are going through a common point, mainly because of cybersecurity advantage, I would say. So there is, once again, I think those markets were probably much more different 10, 15 years ago. Now they are converging because they are learning from each other. We have company selling on both countries, so that's what we see on the market.
So, Laurent, I know you mentioned at the start about the pandemic. Can you explain further about the effect that the pandemic had on SMB and residential landscapes?
Meaning, I will talk about it from a consumer point of view, and Maxime, maybe you can explain about what was the change for the pro, the persona on the pro. But yeah, so if I look for the pandemic from a consumer point of view, we had same. So going back to that survey we did in 2022, because we learned a lot from that, we saw that people who were asking, are they worried? Do they have more or less concern about their security and safety than before the pandemic? 32% answered they are more concerned. So the pandemic definitely changed that aspect and the need on the consumer side. So the feeling of being less secured did grow a lot. And yeah, I will let Maxime talk about what does the pandemic change in terms of pro.
Yeah, and for the pro, what we can see, and probably it's not specific to UK, but we can see in the south of Europe as an example, with the pandemic, we have seen a lot of people who lost their, were, I would say, unemployed at this time. And with some new security system, I would say easier to install, when it was, I would say, more accessible for someone who is not a real professional of the security, we have seen a trend of newcomer, new joiner on this market, able to be more, I would say, people that were installing the product because it's more easy and with less, I would say, skills in the security part of the business. So that's changed a little bit the game, and more people are installing security systems. So that's the kind of things we can see clearly.
Yeah, I think obviously the pandemic took a huge role on all sectors and all industries. It was a big hit. So moving on from that, I just wanted to speak about brand loyalty. So how much of a role does brand loyalty play in the security industry, both for installers and consumers?
Yeah, from my perspective, the brand loyalty plays a really significant role on the market, and especially in the home security installation. With Pro, we know our professional and all the professionals on this industry are really loyal to a brand. Most of them are installing for years the same brand, and that's where we need to be, I would say, as an industry, I would say, innovative and strong enough to create the demand and to help the pro to be, I would say, more engaged in the future. And that's also one of the reasons we are pushing this brand, our brand First Alert, because that really makes sense for us to have this community of people installing the products.
So within the next 5 years, what do you expect to see amongst the European security market as it continues to evolve?
One of the aspects we see that which is evolving quick is video. So video, so we can call it CCTV, video monitoring, video alarm verification, whatever we call it, but video is growing. So video will play a big role in the future, that for sure. And also, I would say it also offers opportunities with the AI, so meaning I'm sure people knows about AI, but when we talk about AI on video, it talks to people, there is some other aspect of AI people may not know when it's a bit more less obvious, let's say, but video and AI will definitely play a big role in the future. So that definitely is something we are looking at.
Reducing the false alarm, increasing the speed of reactivity For the operator in the monitoring station, it's really key. That's, I would say, the key elements on this market for the past years, and that will clearly change the game in the coming years.
Yeah, I agree that this will be a critical focus point in improving security by minimising false alarms and increasing the speed of reactivity. So I think that just about concludes our podcast for today. Thank you both so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been really fascinating to find out more about the European security market. Thank you also to our listeners for tuning into this episode of Security Journal UK Leaders in Security podcast series. I've been your host, Eve Goode, and please make sure to keep your eye and your ear out for the next episode coming soon.